Today I'm going to answer the question, are eggs healthy? Because there's a lot of people in our society that believe that eggs are not healthy and that they actually increase your risk of a cardiovascular event due to the saturated fat and cholesterol levels. However, the research has shown that consuming foods with saturated fat and cholesterol, if you're on a lower carbohydrate diet and you have good insulin sensitivity and blood sugar stability, actually does not increase your risk of some sort of atherosclerotic or cardiovascular event. In fact, it actually helps prevent it and increases your overall longevity and health span, meaning the length of time that you're able to be healthy as you age. So the key here is keeping your blood sugar stable, keeping your body very insulin sensitive. When you do those things, you're able to consume saturated fat and cholesterol, and they actually have very good health benefits for your body. However, if you combine and you're eating a lot of saturated fat and cholesterol, but you're also eating a lot of ultra-processed, high carbohydrate foods, that is when you drive up more inflammation, and the saturated fats can actually be a carrier for bad microbes. We call it a lipid carrier that bad microbes will jump on in the gut, cross into, because the gut is damaged because of inflammation, will jump into the bloodstream and drive up inflammation throughout the body. So when you look at the average individual out there, they're consuming a lot of ultra-processed foods, and they're also consuming a lot of saturated fat and cholesterol on top of that. So they have this terrible combination. You think about ice cream, for example. Ice cream loaded with processed carbohydrates, ultra-processed, high glycemic carbohydrates. On top of that, it's got the saturated fat and cholesterol. Not a good balance, right? So that's a setup for more inflammation in the body. However, when you look at an egg, eggs are obviously very low in carbohydrates and extremely rich in nutrients. In fact, it may very well be the most nutrient-dense food that you can put in your body is a good pasture-raised egg. And that makes sense because that's all going into, all those nutrients are coming from the chicken going into making the baby chicken. So you're going to get a lot more concentrated nutrients in the egg, particularly in the egg yolk, than you are even consuming, a piece of chicken or a piece of meat. So egg yolks, eggs, phenomenal food. Now, for some individuals, they have immune reactions, right? So they have an allergy or a sensitivity to consuming eggs. For those individuals, they should avoid eating eggs. What does it mean to have an immune reaction? It means when you consume the egg, it drives up inflammation in your body. You consume eggs, your joints start hurting. You have brain fog. You feel fatigued. You have skin reactions, acne, eczema, different issues like that, hives. Some individuals really can't consume any eggs because their body has created this immune reaction. For those individuals, in spite of the nutrients that are in the eggs, they should avoid them. For other individuals, they don't feel as good, and that's because they have very sluggish bile flow. They have a liver gallbladder issue. And for individuals that have liver and gallbladder issues, we recommend getting your liver and gallbladder healthy, getting your bile flow healthy. And you can do that by consuming a lot of bitter herbs, things like ginger, drinking ginger tea, dandelion tea, consuming supplements with milk thistle, consuming things like artichokes and radishes, all those things, kind of the bitterness or the astringent nature of a lot of these types of plants helps to thin the bile and helps the bile flow more effectively. And you need bile, it's a fat emulsifier. You need that in order to metabolize and break down the healthy fats that are in the eggs. So we got to get our liver and our gallbladder working well. If you're struggling to digest eggs, I really would focus on, again, improving liver gallbladder function. I've got a lot of content on drjockers.com that goes into that in great detail, including my Cleanse Your Liver e-guide that will really show you what you need to do to improve your liver health. So if you don't feel good when you're eating eggs, it may be because you have a liver gallbladder issue. Now, let's look at the nutrients that are in eggs. Eggs are one of the best nutritional sources of vitamin D as well as vitamin K2. Now, when it comes to vitamin D, I recommend you're really going to get it from the sun. You're going to get the more significant quantities by getting regular sun exposure. I'm a huge advocate of that. However, getting some in your diet is a good idea as well. Egg yolk is a concentrated form of vitamin D3 as well as vitamin K2. And vitamin K2 really works with vitamin D to take calcium out of the bloodstream and put it into the bones. This is why actually consuming eggs reduces your risk of having some sort of cardiac event, some sort of heart attack, because we're actually taking calcium. Calcium makes up roughly about 25 to 50% of an arterial plaque. It's actually calcium, it's scar tissue. So when your endothelial lining of your blood vessels gets damaged, your body comes in with scar tissue, in a sense, mortar, to kind of protect, to try to heal the blood vessel. And in doing that, it's trying to kind of, it's like if you have like something broken in your house, like a wall that's damaged, you're going in there, you're putting drywall up. Well, that's what it's trying to do. And in order to create some sort of stability there, it puts a lot of calcium into it. By getting calcium out of the blood and into the muscles, into the bones where it belongs, you have less of that available to build up in the endothelial lining of your blood vessels, to build up in your joints, and that's really key. So vitamin K2, as well as vitamin D and magnesium, which we find in eggs, acts like a vacuum cleaner, pulling the calcium out of the bloodstream into the bones where we want it. For strong, healthy bones, we want it in our muscles for good muscle contraction. So that's one of the key things that eggs has in it. Eggs are also a great source of omega-3s, particularly if we're getting pasture-raised eggs. The more grass and greens that the chicken eats, the higher amount of omega-3 fatty acids, which are very anti-inflammatory, very good for brain health. The more of that is going to be concentrated in the egg. This is why I'm a big fan of pasture-raised. It's not pasteurized. A lot of people confuse that. Pasteurized means basically that it was cooked, in a sense, to kill bacteria. So it's not pasteurized, it's pasture-raised. When we're consuming the pasture-raised eggs, we're going to get the higher amounts of omega-3s. We're also going to get another fatty acid called CLA, conjugated linoleic acid, which is amazing for turning on fat burning, so great for your metabolism, also great for immune health. There's actually research that shows that CLA, getting a higher amount of CLA in your diet, reduces your risk of developing autoimmune conditions as well as cancer. So really powerful nutrient. Eggs are one of the best sources. Grass-fed, pasture-raised eggs, one of the best sources. Also very rich in these minerals, selenium and zinc. Selenium and zinc, very critical for immune function, very critical for thyroid health. The better our thyroid's functioning, the better we're going to burn fat for fuel. So very important for keeping a healthy immune system as well as healthy metabolism. Getting selenium and zinc, we're going to get that in our pasture-raised egg, one of the best sources of both of those. We're also going to get something called vitamin A and vitamin E, all of our fat-soluble nutrients. Vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K2 are found in egg, particularly in the yolk. Really the white, all the white really has is protein, which is important. We want that protein, so we don't want to just consume yolk, but it doesn't have the nutrients. So we really need to make sure we're consuming the yolk because that's where the nutrients are. So don't throw out your yolk, don't stick with egg whites. It's one of the biggest mistakes people make is they go with the white, they get the protein, but they don't get any of these nutrients and healthy fats. So we really want to make sure we're doing that. There's also something called biotin inhibitor in the egg white, and that biotin inhibitor blocks our body's ability to uptake biotin. Now, in nature, the egg balances it out because the egg yolk is so rich in biotin as well as other B vitamins that we're able to get the biotin we need. However, if we're removing the yolk, we're just consuming the white, we might actually be depleting our overall sources of biotin and other B vitamins, setting us up for future problems. So B vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin E, all really critical for immune function, critical for metabolic health, so our ability to burn fat. Vitamin E is actually one of the most important nutrients, most important antioxidants for protecting that endothelial lining of the blood vessels, protecting against damage to those blood vessels, and protecting against scar tissue formation. We talked about that with the calcium. So getting nutrients like vitamin E as well as vitamin A, getting your omega-3s, your vitamin D, your vitamin K2 helps protect the blood vessels and helps you have better blood flow, better blood pressure, and a healthier cardiovascular system. On top of that, eggs are rich in choline, and choline is one of the most important nutrients for all cell membranes. It's also very important for brain health. It helps to upregulate something called acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter that you need for good memory. Acetylcholine helps, it's concentrated neurotransmitter in our frontal lobe as well as in our temporal lobe that helps us with memory recall. Choline helps upregulate that. Choline is also critical for good bile flow. We talked about that before. Choline is a bile salt. So choline helps support good bile function, good bile flow. So eggs are one of the best sources of choline that you can be consuming. So choline, we also have saturated fat and cholesterol. Now, I know I just talked about how saturated fat and cholesterol have been demonized and how they could be a problem if we're eating a diet high in ultra-processed foods. However, in a diet that's low in carbohydrates, that's really made up of real foods that are nutrient dense, saturated fat and cholesterol are incredibly important. And that is because they are key components to every cell membrane. Around every cell of your body, you have a double layer of fat. And saturated fat and cholesterol provide stability for that cell membrane. Things like omega-3s and omega-6s, they provide what we call fluidity. And that allows for good hormone receptor function. When you have enough and the right ratio of very stable fats, saturated fats, monounsaturated fats, cholesterol, those provide a lot of stability. And then the more fluid fats, which are going to be your polyunsaturated fats, your omega-3s and your omega-6, when you have the right ratio there, you're going to have really good hormone receptor function. We need the cholesterol and saturated fat, so it's super critical we get it in our diet. Those fatty acids also are very hard to become rancid, right? They're very stable, and that helps reduce the overall oxidative stress load in our system. If we're eating a lot of polyunsaturated fats, a lot of these omega-3s, a lot of omega-6s, we do need some, right? But if we're eating a lot of them because we're eating lots of nuts and seeds and we're getting most of our fats from plant-based sources, then we're going to create more oxidative stress because those fats are less stable. So the saturated fats and cholesterol provide membrane stability, and they're also more stable, so they reduce the oxidative stress load on our system. And we know oxidative stress is kind of like rusting in the body, and it's the precursor to inflammation. And so we want to keep inflammation down, we got to keep oxidative stress down. So getting the cholesterol, saturated fat in the diet, avoiding the ultra-processed foods and the really high carbohydrate, really high glycemic index and glycemic load foods, that is the perfect combination for reducing oxidative stress, reducing inflammation, and allowing you to thrive. So quick summary, eggs are one of the most nutrient-dense foods you could put in your body, rich in fat-soluble nutrients, rich in all the different compounds that create healthy cell membranes, healthy mitochondria, healthy fat burning, healthy immune function, healthy cognitive function, and great energy throughout the day, as well as great cardiovascular health. What you want to avoid are the ultra-processed foods. Don't combine ultra-processed foods with something like eggs. Eat eggs with other healthy, real foods. That's really the big summary. If you have an immune reaction, if you have a sensitivity or an allergy to eggs, avoid them. Work on healing your gut and supporting your liver. We talked about some of the bitter herbs: ginger, dandelion, milk thistle, artichoke, radishes. There's a whole number of them, parsley, cilantro. All these types of things help thin the bile, help move bile through your bile ducts in your liver, as well as in your gallbladder more effectively, so you're able to digest fats more effectively. Work on healing and sealing your gut. Okay, make sure that that you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system, taking some deep breaths, maybe praying before your meal. That helps activate your parasympathetic nervous system. It helps increase your stomach acid, bile flow, pancreatic enzymes to set you up for good digestive success. You want to make sure that you're eating foods that are easy on the gut, that are not going to be damaging to the gut. So avoid your ultra-processed foods. If you do those things, you may be able to consume more eggs, even if you've had an immune reaction in the past where it caused more inflammation. So that's the summary. Support your liver, your gallbladder, your gut. Make eggs one of the staple parts of your diet if you're able to tolerate it, and avoid ultra-processed foods. Hopefully you get a lot out of this video. Be sure to share it with somebody that you know and you care about, and we'll see you on a future video training. Be blessed.